Hello. Welcome. This is just a little impromptu stream I wanted to do because I'm at loose ends, and I just want to talk about Doctor Who while it's still culturally relevant to do so. With its future being a little uncertain at the moment. So what I was going to do, I was going to rank some episodes. Initially, I thought about doing all the episodes from the revival era, but there's like 200 of them, and this is going to be long enough already. So I've just cut it down to just Russell T Davies's first era in charge of Doctor Who, when he first brought it back. So that's 2005 to January the 1st, 2010. Okay, and who knows, maybe next time I'll get on to Moffat and the Chibnall eras. But okay, so let's just start. We'll go back to March 2005. The first episode of when Doctor Who was brought back to British TV after 16 years in the wilderness, bar one TV movie in the 90s. So the first episode is Rose, and that will go immediately into great. It's sort of like just the perfect introduction episode to Doctor Who. You meet Christopher Eccleston, and he sort of lays down all the basic groundwork you'll need to know. Rose, she's herself played by Billie Piper. She's a bit of a blank slate, but that works perfectly well. Hello, Laverick. So she's basically learning everything at the same time the audience is, because obviously, much as this was great for the old fans to see Doctor Who back on TV, it was also to introduce new fans and just introduce them to the whole world of Doctor Who. And obviously, I loved seeing the Autons again. I mean, they're great villains. There's not really much you can do with Autons or the nesting consciousness. It wasn't even Rose isn't exactly breaking new ground for them with dummies breaking out of shop windows. But like I say, it was a great first episode. Some people say that the effects have aged badly, but to be honest, I don't think they were even particularly great for 2005. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. Okay, so then move on to second episode, The End of the World. I'm not sure where I would put this one. I'll put it in okay. It's not. Yeah, it's not a terrible episode. I guess you could say we learn a bit more about Rose in this episode as she sort of learns more what it actually means to be a time traveler. And but there's not much else to say. That there's not particularly great villains in it. There's the weird little scuttling robot monsters, but I don't know. It's just it's okay. That's what I'd say about it. And then the next episode we got The Unquiet Dead. Now I quite like The Unquiet Dead. It's not a great episode, but yeah, I'd say it's pretty good. It's very much it does what it says on the tin sort of episode. Obviously, it's got Eve Miles in it, who was Hello Izzy, who would later go on to play Gwen in Torchwood. Like I say, it's good for what it is. And I do quite like the Charles Dickens character in it, to be honest. So next, I have lumped some episodes together, but that might be fair on some, unfair on others. We'll see. But I put Aliens in London, World War III. I'll say that's okay. I'm not a massive fan of the Slovene. I never really thought, the fighting in itself was particularly funny. It was a bit childish, but there are some good themes to the episode. I mean, obviously, it was an episode made immediately in the aftermath of the Iraq War. It's okay, but I mean, there's a better episode with the Slovene coming. Now, Dalek. Now, where do I want to put Dalek? I might say Dalek is our first fantastic. It's a really great episode. We don't know much about the lore of the Time War at this point, but we just remember the scene when Christopher Eccleston's Doctor, when he meets the Dalek, and just the terror on his face initially, and then the way that just changes. It's absolutely chilling scene. And I think it's also a great episode for Rose. We really get to see her empathetic nature, and that's a really important part of the story, because that's what rubs off onto the Dalek, and what makes the Dalek ultimately change its nature. It's it's a really great episode. I could watch it. Any time, and it will still just be brilliant every single time. It'll be fantastic every time, I should say. But unfortunately, from Dalek, we go straight into what I'd say was probably the first real dud of the RTD1 era, and that's The Long Game. I mean, really, one of the things is we've got Adam in this episode, who's a new companion who's brought over from the Dalek episode, and really he's just there just to make a point that if you're going to travel with the Doctor, you've got to do it by his rules. After all, he only takes the best. If you look at the main plot of the story, you've got the almighty Jagrafess of the whatever, and yeah, he sort of sucks. I do like Simon Pegg as the editor. He's very creepy, and Tamsin Gregg, who's in the episode, she's only in it for a couple minutes, but she's very good as well. But other than that, not much to recommend it. Okay, and then we go to another great episode, which is Father's Day. So this is when we first meet Pete Tyler, Rose's dad, who is actually dead in our world, but Rose goes back in time and saves him when he's supposed to die, and that just screws up everything. it's kind of complicated because they're trying to establish that there are rules to time travel, that you can't just go around just doing whatever you want, because there are consequences to that. And yeah, it works really well. And obviously we excuse me. And you know, we get to know Pete, and he's a really well written character. And you know, I love him. I think he's much better in Father's Day than he is in his future appearances. You know, he's very flawed, and you know, that's difficult for Rose to deal with, because she's only heard the stories from her mum that obviously paint him in a much better light than he actually was. And the Doctor, he sort of pops out halfway through, but again, Chris Eccleston really great for the bits he is in this episode. So yeah, Father's Day, that's going into great. Now we go to Empty Child and the Doctor Dances. This was the first episode written by Stephen Moffat, the first story written, and yeah, that's going right into fantastic. It's brilliant. It's creepy. It's suspenseful. We meet Captain Jack for the first time, and you know, and when we're talking about Captain Jack, we are talking about Jack Harkness. We're not talking about John Barrowman. And but yeah, Captain Jack, he's a fun character. You know, you can't wait to get to know more about him. It's and I just and then there's the whole stuff with the gas masks, which is just creepy as hell. Just the image of Richard Wilson, just watching his face slowly morph into a gas mask. That's proper nightmare fuel image. And then we get the great "everybody lives" ending. Now, some might say that would actually become a problem with Stephen Moffat, that you know, he has too many happy endings. But I thought it worked really well here. I thought it was really brilliant. So yeah, Stephen Moffat, looking forward to more of your work. Hello to the Connor Bed. Okay, right. So we move on to the next episode. Boomtown. Boomtown is weird because it's very much a filler episode, but it's a lot better than it has any right to be. This episode, it should really be nothing, but yeah, I really like it. It's I like seeing the gang, if you will, just hanging out together, just interacting, just having a good time for the most part. And then we get Margaret Slevine. Yeah, exactly. The conversation in the restaurant between the Doctor and Margaret, and you know, it's just a surprisingly strong episode, which you know, I wasn't really expecting. We can argue about the ending. You know, basically, I suppose you could say it's a happy ending, and that Margaret will basically be given the chance to rectify all the mistakes she made the first time around. But yeah, Boomtown is definitely worth the time. Then we we're going into the finale. Bad Wolf and Parting of the Ways. I'm just thinking, I'll put that one in great. I don't think it's quite perfect, but it's obviously very excellent, with some very memorable moments, and Christopher Eccleston is obviously brilliant because he's Christopher Eccleston. He always is. You know, when the Doctor thinks that Rose has died, we can absolutely feel his pain there. Someone he was supposed to protect, someone he had basically promised her mother he would protect. Then it's like he gets the second chance. I suppose I should talk about the initial, when they're doing their sort of mock TV shows, because that does sort of date it a little. I mean, obviously Big Brother and The Weakest Link are still around, but does anyone really still remember What Not to Wear? So doesn't particularly care about the Trini and Susanna bots. And they did actually get the real Anne Robinson to voice the Anne Robinson bot, which I think that's pretty cool. Personally, your favorite? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. If it's your favorite, that's brilliant. It's not my personal favorite, but I think it is great. And obviously the ending of it is heartbreaking. And in a way, I feel slightly robbed that we didn't get to see more of Christopher Eccleston, because it felt like he was just really getting going in the role, and then it was all over. Now I know, you know, all the backstage stuff with Russell T Davies that he wasn't happy with. So there's not much we can really do about that. But yeah, it was a great season finale. Then we go to the Christmas invasion. Where am I going to put the Christmas invasion? I'm going to say it's okay. I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's really particularly good either. I mean, it's like the episode we're really supposed to meet the next Doctor in, and David Tennant's basically asleep for what, 80% of the episode, and then just comes out at the end. All right, he really does make the best use of his time when he is up, but yeah, that's still slightly disappointing. Harriet Jones, I think, is actually quite a good character in this, and I mean, I can absolutely understand her point of view when she wants to when she blows up the Sycorax ship, because yeah, we can't always rely that the Doctor's going to be there. So, but I don't think the Sycorax are that interesting. So I don't know. I'll just leave it in okay. So we go to New Earth. New Earth. Yeah. It's not very good. It's not very good, New Earth. It's because really this episode, it should be about re-establishing Rose and the new Doctor's relationship. But but because of all the shenanigans with Lady Cassandra, you know, we barely see them really interacting. So I think that's a bit of an issue. And Lady Cassandra herself, she's okay, but she's not really a particularly engaging villain. What of her just being a flap of skin and all. The ending's quite good. I might bump it up to okay. Yeah, but it's not an episode I would ever go out looking for. But so yeah, I'll just leave it where it is. So Tooth and Claw. Weird World episode, Tooth and Claw. I just put it in okay. It's a weird episode because you get this opening scene with all these martial arts monks, but then they don't really have much else to do with it. You know, we don't really see any of their skills again. Yeah, I guess this is actually the first episode where we genuinely get to see the 10th Doctor and Rose bonding again. So it's got that going for it. And of course, Queen Victoria decides to launch Torchwood, which will have big impact for later in the series. But yeah, otherwise, Werewolf Story, it's not that great. So yeah, I'll just leave on okay. We go to School Reunion. Yeah, who doesn't like School Reunion? I'll only put it in great for now, and you know I will explain why. So obviously it's great to see Sarah Jane back. I don't even mind seeing K9 again. But what I think is really great is it's actually one of the few times we had seen this in Doctor Who. I think it happened a couple times in the classic series, but generally new companions didn't ever get to meet the old companions. You know, I think it happened in the 5 Doctors, but there wasn't really much to that. And you know, I can absolutely see both Sarah Jane and Rose's point of view. You know, Sarah Jane realizing that she was very much replaceable, and Rose is obviously going to be questioning, well, one day will he just get bored and dump me? You know, so it makes sense for them to have that little conflict between themselves. But the reason I'm only putting in great and not fantastic is I don't think the villains are good. Not really a fan of the Krillitane. Much as I do like the idea of Anthony Stewart Head playing what are essentially vampires. But that's the only thing that really stops me putting this in fantastic, and some of the child acting. But you know, child acting is always terrible. There's just nothing you can do about that. So move on to Girl in the Fireplace. So I will put this one in great. Now, I know a lot of people would put this in the top tier, fantastic. So, but I'll explain why. Okay, so this episode is built on this relationship between the Doctor and Madame du Pompadour. Now, I can see it from Madame de Pompadour's point of view, where the Doctor is this mythical figure just popping up at various points all throughout her life, like some great protector figure. But from the Doctor's point of view, he's only known her about 5 minutes. So I don't buy that relationship aspect to it. But other than that, I really love the Clockwork Robots. They've got a really interesting, unique design to them. So one other thing that does hold this episode back is Mickey and Rose. So Mickey's decided he doesn't want to be the tin dog anymore. So now he's off traveling with the Doctor, which actually makes him the first black companion in Doctor Who. You know, that he gets written out, but he is. And I'm talking about Mickey Smith as well, not Noel Clarke. But yeah, Mickey and Rose, they don't have much to do in this episode. They don't really do a lot. So that's just another thing that does hold this back from being top tier. So next one is Rise of the Cybermen, Age of Steel. I'm putting this in great. And the reason this is going into great is because I have a Cybermen bias. So Cybermen are my favorite villains. So anything with Cybermen is gonna get overrated by me. But generally, I think it is a flawed story. I won't deny that. But there is a lot of good stuff to it. Like I think this is actually the best look for the Cybermen that we've seen in Doctor Who, just because they do look so terrifying. Just they're really big, they're bulky, they're powerful. The way they just stomp around, they are terrifying. You know, you would not want to meet a Cyberman. And so they've done a fantastic job bringing them back. And Mickey has a really great arc in this story. You know, Mickey, he's been quite unfairly treated by the Doctor through these first. Well, what are we up to? Well, this is like episode 18 or something. So he's been quite unfairly treated by the Doctor. You know, you could play it off as a love rival for Rose, but you know, we know that Mickey's no threat, and the Doctor's just been a bit of a douche for no real reason. But yeah, and this is so this is his coming out episode, if you will, where you know when Mickey actually does learn to be a hero, and you know he's no longer the tin dog, and that's great for Mickey. And I'd like to point out again, we are talking about Mickey Smith. We are not talking about Noel Clarke. But yeah, I really like it. Oh, and I might also mention Murray Gold's Cyberman theme. I love his theme. He's made for them. Just wanted to make a quick mention of that. Oh, now next one. The Idiot's Lantern. Yeah, I just can't think of anything to recommend this episode. It's just bad. Yeah, I'm just gonna pretend it doesn't exist. But now we do go to something great: the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. That's maybe not fantastic. I'll put it in great though, because fantastic is that's for like the best of the best, and Possible Planet, Satan Pit. Yes, it's very good, but it's not quite elite. So yeah, it's a great story. With the Doctor's separated from his TARDIS, and that gives him a bit of a crisis because he doesn't know what he's going to do now. And we get introduced to the Ood, and maybe that's a slight flaw that the Doctor doesn't take much time to really trouble himself over this obvious use of slaves. But the Ood are very threatening, and then you got the Beast itself, who is he looks amazing. When he separates from the body, he's a very frightening influence. And obviously, David Tennant gets to give his epic monologue to the Beast. So yeah, this episode is pretty great, and the first use of the orange spacesuit. Love and Monsters, well, you can guess because there's a tier right down here at the bottom called Love and Monsters. I'd like to say that this is an underrated episode, but it's not. It really is as bad as people say. And yeah, I'd rather it didn't exist. And another thing I would rather didn't exist is Fear Her. That's 2 terrible episodes in a row. But yeah, Fear Her, our villain is just... I mean, we could go for ages just talking about just how terrible Fear Her is. But now we are back on track with Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. One issue, like I said, Cybermen, they get done pretty badly in this story. I can, because you get the big battle between the Daleks and the Cybermen, and you know what? I can accept that they can't destroy the cult of Skaro, and I understand there is the hierarchy that Daleks are always at the top. But you know what? You could have shown the Cybermen taking out some of the rank and file. You just made the Cybermen look really weak in that, and that's unforgivable, RTD. And obviously, the big thing people remember from this. Actually, before I get to that, I'd like to also give props to Tracy Ann Uberman in this episode, who plays Yvonne. Yeah, she's really good as the smarmy Torchwood boss. And yeah, it was, and yeah, Torchwood, which was obviously set up way back in Tooth and Claw. Now we've got them right out in the open. And, you know, that's going to lead directly into the spin-off TV series. So that's all great stuff. But obviously, the big emotional climax is the departure of Rose. I mean, to be honest, you would have known this was coming right from the end of Fear Her, when she makes the line that, oh, they keep trying to separate us, but they never can. So, oh right, I wonder what's going to happen next. Yeah, of course they're going to get separated. So Rose ends up being trapped on the parallel world, and then we get the scene on the beach where we can only assume the Doctor was about to profess his love, but he never gets to. It's a really sad, heartbreaking moment, because it was the attraction between Rose and the Doctor had been growing throughout the series. Now, the Doctor getting in relationships with humans is always a controversial thing, but I mean, I can sort of defend this, because I think the Doctor, I don't think he's unaware of how problematic it is. You know, he knows the impracticalities of a human girl being with this thousands of year old Time Lord. But it's that old thing where the heart just wants what it wants. But yeah, overall, Doomsday, Army of Ghosts, Doomsday, yeah, it's a great season finale. And it leads directly into the Runaway Bride, which I'm also going to put in great. Where am I? I might think about that. So, Runaway Bride, that's when we're introduced to Donna Noble, played by Catherine Tate. It's worth noting that Catherine Tate her casting was actually considered a bit of a risk at the time, because what she was mainly known for at the time was her comedy sketch show work. She wasn't really known for her acting. So a lot of people did consider her a bit of a risk, but she more than paid off. And you know what? I might actually bump this up to fantastic, because I think it is an amazing. It's one of possibly the best Christmas special they've done. It's brilliant from start to finish. There's the amazing sequence at the start with the TARDIS on the motorway, and then we learn Donna's backstory about she was getting married. I even like her. Well, I don't like her fiance Lance, but he's a good character. And the Ragnos and Ragnos, I don't know, they're pretty standard as villains, but I think we really learn about the dark edge that this Doctor has in this episode. which will very much come back into play in future episodes. The way Donna needs to tell him to stop. Yeah, it's fantastic. If this was the only appearance from Catherine Tate in all of Doctor Who, this would have been great just on its own. But luckily, we will get more from her. So then we're into series 3 now. Smith and Jones. Smith and Jones. I'll put that in good. Good. It's a good opener. It's not brilliant. I like the Jadoon. Martha's good. I know there's the villain. The villain is a bit rubbish. It's just this old woman, but I like seeing the hospital transported up to the moon. That's a pretty cool concept, because the Jadoon are finding ways to bend but not break the laws. I quite like that little aspect to them. But, there is a bit of controversy over the Martha Doctor kiss, because people point out that it's not consensual. You might make the argument that there is a lot of framing around the kiss that does make it clear that this is for practical purposes. It's not for the Doctor's sexual gratification. But I don't know if I don't know if that makes it okay, but I'll leave that up to others to decide. And then we go on to Shakespeare Code. Shakespeare Code. Yeah, it's quite good. It's based on the real myth of Shakespeare's lost play, Love's what's it called? Love's Labour's Won. That's what it's called. So yeah, that's a real Shakespeare myth that exists. But what I really remember is this is the start of the Doctor just really being a dick to Martha. People obviously remember the bit on the bed, but also there's the bit when they're confronting the Carrier Knight, and Martha tries to repeat the "I named the Carrier Knight" thing that the Doctor had used earlier, and it doesn't work. And the thing is, the Doctor was right there, and he knew it wouldn't work, but he still let her do it anyway. What a dick. I don't really understand why the Doctor is such a dick to Martha throughout this series, because he's not unaware of her feelings. So I don't know. It's like, for some reason, this Doctor just needs an ego boost. I don't really understand that aspect to their relationship. I don't get it. But Shakespeare Code, yeah, I'll leave that in good. Gridlock, yeah, pretty poor. Yeah, a story about being stuck in traffic, and just about as much fun. You know, Don't think any of these supporting characters are particularly great. And then we get the introduction of the macra. This should have been a warning sign for the future, really, because we get the macra, but these macra are nothing like the macra from the classic series. Classic series macra, they were very smart, very devious creatures. They were intelligent. Macra and Gridlock, yeah, just mindless snapping beasts. Mindless snapping crabs, I should say. So yeah, it's not good. All right. Daleks in Manhattan and the evolution of the Daleks. Where do I want to put that? I might. No, I'll put it okay. So this story, it's basically a retelling of the Patrick Troughton story, The Evil of the Daleks, where they try to find the human factor and combine it with Dalek DNA. And it's not as good, and that story's not great to begin with. I guess, it's an interesting idea. There are things to like about it. I like the New York setting. They really get over the hardship of the Depression. Quite like Tallulah's a good character. And of course, it's got Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man in it. So it's always got that to recommend it. But yeah, it's not a classic. The Lazarus Experiment. I'll put that in poor. I know a lot of people would have put it down here, but I don't think it's quite that bad. It has a couple things going for it, I guess, but otherwise it's just sort of standard monster of the week sort of episode. Next we get 42. This is poor. I'll tell you why this episode is such a failure. Because if they didn't tell you that this was an episode running in real time, then you wouldn't know. Because there is no massive, great sense of urgency among the cast that these people are fighting a desperate race against time. So the gimmick of the episode just completely fails, and other than that, it's just very bog standard Doctor Who episode. Now, Human Nature, Family of Blood, that's going straight into fantastic. And I would say there's an argument to be made that this is actually maybe even the great best story of the whole new Doctor Who era. Maybe all of Doctor Who. I don't know. I might be going a little far there, but yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. David Tennant is absolutely superb. This might even be his best performance. Because you can absolutely feel his pain as John Smith. That his absolute desperation, that he doesn't want to leave his life to become this doctor character. and it's got probably to this point, the darkest ending of any Doctor Who story we've seen. You know, with what he does to the family, it's quite chilling, to be honest. But you know, you don't really need me to tell you how good the story is, because basically everyone knows it. It's superb. Blink. This will be controversial. I'm only putting this in great because I think it is a great episode, but I don't think it's quite as good as people will tell you. You know, see, it's probably the best. It's certainly the best Weeping Angel story, because there again, you know, Weeping Angels are quite limited. There's not that much you can do with them because they don't talk and they just stand there. All you can do is literally just look at them. So I would say Blink is definitely their best episode, and I love the whole concept of Sally and the Doctor communicating through time just via DVD Easter eggs. I wonder, are Easter eggs still a thing? I don't know. You know, but I love that because rarely does Doctor Who, for a show about a man who travels through time, rarely does it actually make use of that little fact. But Blink, yes, it's great. I don't think it's quite fantastic. That's my personal opinion. Talking of which, Utopia. I'm putting this in good. I think most people do overrate this episode, and obviously, yes, there's a lot to recommend it. Derek Jacobi, he's fantastic, and the reveal at the end, I'd say it's actually probably the best cliffhanger episode and cliffhanger ending that they've ever done in Doctor Who. But the reason I don't think this is any higher than good is because I think a lot of people forget that 80% of this episode is a boring subplot about launching a space shuttle. And then you get these future kind stuff with the future kind that doesn't really go anywhere either. So yes, it's got great things to it, but overall it's not great. So then we get to the season 3 season finale. Sound of drums and the last of the Time Lords. And I'm only going to put it in okay. I really want to put it higher because I do like John Sims' Master. I love that he's just so chaotic and just completely unpredictable, and that makes him a great antagonist. But apart from that, it's just not very good. And then you got the Doctor becoming Dobby the house elf, and then transforming into Jesus. I think I'm already overrating it as it is, you know. I'm thinking I should be bumping this down to poor. Yeah, I think I've got to bump you down. It's just not good. Which is a shame for the return of such an iconic villain, the Master. But, yeah. All right. That we go to Voyage of the Damned. Yeah, put that in great. I do want to address one thing though, right? Because everyone lists Astrid Peth, the character Kylie Minogue plays. She gets listed as a companion, and no, she is not. She's not a companion. Okay, she's a guest character. The Doctor meets. Sorry, but if if we allow Astrid to become a Doctor Who companion, then basically we've got to allow almost everyone who's ever been in a Doctor Who episode to be a companion. I have my criteria that to be a companion, you should be in at least 2 consecutive episodes and travel in the TARDIS. That's my criteria, and Astrid does not meet that. There is a Liz Shaw exception. We can make some special exceptions, but no. Astrid, no. That said, the episode itself, yeah, it's really good. Heavenly Hope, the hosts are very, very creepy. All right, I guess the main villain, whose name escapes me right now, Max something or other, isn't it? He's a bit sucky. I think my favorite character is actually Mr. Copper. And the way he gives just a couple sentences at the end into the Doctor about what kind of person would he be if he could choose who lived and died. It's just a couple sentences, but it was just brilliant. Very much big fan of Mr. Copper in this. So now let's move on to season 4. We are getting some good stuff, but first we got to get through this. Partners in Crime. I'm bumping this up to okay, because the episode itself isn't very good. Don't really like the adipose, but the reason I am putting this in okay rather than poor is purely down to Catherine Tate and David Tennant. Just their chemistry and interactions together. They just elevate this, just a little. So they do make it watchable. Otherwise, nothing to really say about this episode. And we go to Fires of Pompeii. Okay, so Partners in Crime is fun, I think. I like the dark comedy of the adipose, if they are a bit silly. Lovely growth of Donna off screen from Runaway Bride to this episode. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I'm going to actually confess that first time around, yeah, I got Donna completely wrong. I was not a fan, but it's when I went back a few years later and watched her episodes again. That's when I realized, oh my god, I was an idiot. Donna Noble is amazing. So let's do Fires of Pompeii. Okay, let's address this first. Karen Gillan and Peter Capaldi are both in this episode. Okay, that's out of the way. Now the episode itself, and it's great. It's a really great, really emotional episode. A real learning experience for Donna, who's jumped into traveling in the TARDIS, and she's sort of expecting it to be all fun and games, but here she is in Pompeii on Volcano Day, and everyone around her is gonna die, and that's got to be a hard thing for her to take. So so you couldn't have blamed her if right after this story she'd asked the doctor, please just take me home. You couldn't have blamed her. And of course we get the great ending where she's pleading for the doctor to save someone, and he saves Peter Capaldi, and that's something that comes back. But to be fair, Stephen Moffat, he didn't really need to address Peter Capaldi's previous appearance in the show. You know, he could have just ignored it, but anyway, I think it's good that he did go back to that. I don't know. We go Planet of the Ood, and I think this is another great episode. It's a chance for the Doctor to. The Fires of Pompeii is doing a lot. First up at the Time Lord Victoria stuff. Donna's seeing the truth of travelling with the Doctor, plus the episode itself is a fun romp, capped with a brilliant ending. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. And you know, how often do you see the Doctor fighting off an enemy with a water pistol? Anyway, let's go Planet of the Ood. Yeah, I think this is another great episode. This is where we get to see the Doctor. He wants to essentially make up for letting the Ood down in the Satan pit and letting them die, and you know, and just really tackle this whole slavery thing. And Donna, she also goes on a bit of a learning journey. You know, she's initially repulsed by the Ood's appearance, but you know, she sort of learns to see their inner beauty, and that's a lovely thing to see. And I do want to say something about the Ood. So the Ood, they attack people with their little orb thing. You know, they just hold their orb thing out and they electrocute people with it. I gotta say, that's a real design flaw on the humans' part there. You know, maybe they should be using some sort of insulating material for that. No, I don't know, just a thought. But yeah, you get the beautiful song of freedom at the end. Of course, that's all gonna come back. And we get the Dr. Donna, of course. Now I don't know if you knew they were foreshadowing something there, but yeah, just something set up further down the line. The Poison Sky Sontaran stratagem, the other way around. Sontaran stratagem, the Poison Sky. The return of the Sontarans, and it's good. Here's a good return for them. I don't think what's it called, Luke Rattigan or something, the child genius. I don't think his character really works. Yeah, it's a lovely answer to the critique of the impossible planet Satan Pit, where all the Ood were just left to die. Yeah, so yeah, that was one of the things. The Doctor, he did have that compulsion to rectify his mistake there. Can I stop watching broadcast TV shortly after Matt Smith started, so I missed a lot of this stuff. Well, this is all before Matt Smith, so you should be in your element, Scott. I've forgotten what episode we were on. The Poison Sky, Sontarans. Yes, what was I going to say about this one? It's a good return for the Sontarans. It's not, it's not great. I quite like the return of Martha, seeing how she's grown since leaving the Doctor. I should have really I should have really brought that up in my last of the Time Lords. And just tuned in, made an assumption, was wrong. Fair enough. Okay. So, right, the Sontaran stratagem. While I remember what I want to say. Okay, it was good to see Martha Mack, just to see how much she had grown, and I thought it was good how she warned Donna of the dangers that come from traveling with the Doctor, which is weird because from her family's point of view, Martha had only actually been gone for 4 days, I think it was. But yeah, a lot happened to them in that short time. So let's just go on to the Doctor's daughter, and I'm not. Yeah. Yes, it was a long 4 days. Anyway, the Doctor's daughter. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I think it's what really puts me off is they thought they were being so clever with their little in joke here, because Georgia Moffat, she's the daughter of Peter Davison, and he used to play the Doctor, so she's literally the Doctor's daughter. And now she's married to David Tennant as well, who played the Doctor. So I suppose it's quite ironic that that Georgia Moffat isn't actually that interested in Doctor Who, given how surrounded by it she is. But yeah, that just puts me off this episode. and it's just not great. Though, there is David Tennant's I Never Would scene at the end. That's good. And there is some development. I'll put it up to okay. I'll put it up to okay. I think that's fair. Then we go to the unicorn and the wasp. I'm not sure wherever I want to put this, to be honest. Yeah, the half there, okay. But what about the have-nots? I'll put the unicorn and the wasp in okay. I guess how much you enjoy this particular episode will be quite dependent on how much you enjoy Agatha Christie novels in general. Because I think if you are a fan of Agatha Christie, I think you will appreciate very much how they've replicated that style and atmosphere to the story. So I'm not a massive fan. I don't particularly like the episode, but again, it's one of those things where I think the performances do elevate it, and I think everyone remembers the Harvey Wallbanger scene. But yeah, it's just David Tennant and Catherine Tate just really knocking their socks off on this episode. And we do get a cool. It does link to the real Agatha Christie mystery when she did disappear for 11 days. So I like that. A guest at a party turning up and becoming a wasp is my worst nightmare. I hate the stripy wing frogs. Disalive every last one of the moody stings. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hate it when that happens too, Scott. I have to spend a fortune on Zap. Okay, Science and Library, Forest of the Dead. Yeah, I'm gonna confess that I'm not the biggest fan of River Song. Like, I do like her character. I just don't really buy into the Doctor River relationship. I got some issues with that, but that's for another time. But this episode, it's introduction, so we don't really know much about her at this time. And yeah, she is an interesting, intriguing presence in the story. And that really sells the story. I like Steve Pemberton's character in this story as well, because he's a bit of a pulls the rug. You think he's sort of just the standard sort of corporate arsehole character, but actually he's doing it to protect his family. So I thought that was done quite well. And yeah, then we get Catherine Tate going into the dream worlds, and those scenes are really effective. And then at the end we get the Doctor saving River. Yeah, by saving her to a sonic screwdriver and uploading her digitally. I mean, that's the real diet soda of immortality, digital River got on my nerves later on. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've got things I can say about River. You know, but it's always hard for me to talk about River because I think River works best in this story. Yeah, I think she does. I think she works best, ironically, in this story and the Husbands of River Song. So the first and last times that we see her. So I don't know if that's irony or not, but yeah, we could talk about River Song a lot. It's just, yeah, I just have an issue with their. Okay, basically, I'll explain quickly what it is. That basically this relationship between the River and the Doctor, I look at it and it's a bit of a sham. Okay, because River, she's basically been brainwashed to be in love with the Doctor, and from the Doctor's point of view, he's just following a part. And who wouldn't want a relationship like the Doctor has with River Song, where you have to put absolutely no effort into it because she's already mad about you? So yeah, so that's my problem with the Doctor River Song relationship. But what are we talking about? Science and Library, Forest of the Dead. Yeah, this is a great episode. Okay, Midnight. Yep, put that in. Great as well. So, okay, so this is what they call a bottle episode. Generally, you get, there are episodes that come up in a series, usually because they're saving money for a big budget episode down the line. They're episodes that come up where they're usually just in one location. They can be quite divisive. Like, Midnight is maybe my favourite Doctor Who story ever, including Classic and EU. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I don't love it quite that much, but I do like it a lot. Like I say, I was explaining the bottle episodes. So bottle episodes, like a good example of this is like The Fly in Breaking Bad, where it's all just in one location. They can split opinions. Some people love them, some people hate them. But Midnight, yeah, Midnight is a great episode. It's got that slow build up. It's got the creepy villain, and we never see the real villain because it's just sort of faceless entity, and the Doctor doesn't defeat it. It's not the Doctor who saves the day. It's not even Donna who saves the day. It's nameless hostess. And and that probably actually works for the Well in the new series. That actually this was a villain that the Doctor didn't defeat. The Doctor was helpless, and that's got to be quite frightening for him. Yeah, what could have just been a filler. Yeah, it's actually really great. So then we move on to Turn Left, and I am actually going to put this one right up in fantastic because, yeah, it is. This is Doctor Who, the Sliding Doors episode. you know. So we see the consequences of what would have happened if Donna never met the Doctor, and it's really great as you see, you know, it's really illustrates the impact that Donna's had. You know, if Donna wasn't there, the Doctor would have died. The new Torchwood would have died. Even Sarah Jane would have died. And you see the changes around the country. And this is probably Bernard Cribben's probably his first really great performance in a Doctor Who episode. You know, he'd been in episodes before. He'd been quite an amusing, funny presence, but this was probably his first truly great episode. And you know, and there's the heartbreaking scene when he sees his Italian friend being taken to a labor camp. You know, that's what they called them last time. And Turn Left, it's actually an episode I wasn't a fan of for a long time, but then I went back and just really watched it, and yeah, actually it's incredible. And Catherine Tate is obviously the star of the show. She just carries the whole episode just amazingly, and yeah, you really feel bad for her, knowing that she's gonna have to sacrifice herself. So yeah, go back, watch Turn Left. It's brilliant. Then we get to the season end, Stolen Earth, Journey's End, and the mega team up. Okay, maybe I am slightly overrating it. I don't know, but I just love seeing all the different Doctor Who franchises teaming up. Admittedly, that's 3 franchises, and it isn't even all the characters from those. But it's good to see them all together. And you know, a great plot with the Daleks, where they've got this idea about using the Earth as a spaceship. I don't know why they went back to that. It was weird when that was their plan in the Dalek invasion. So I don't know why they would want to go back to that again. But there you have it. And there's you know, the other bits, like what's it called, the Austin Hager key that Martha wants to use. You know, I think that's what really must have brought things home. When RTD could juggle all these different characters, honestly, Stolen Earth is incredible. Well done, considering how much it's juggling. Journey's End is okay, but Donna's departure. Oh yeah, we'll get to Donna. But yeah, I want to go into the key. That must I think the Austin Hagen key. I think it was called something like that Martha was going to use. That must have really hit the Doctor, seeing one of his companions about to do basically the same thing he'd done, and in that way, you can see Davros's point of view, that it was a real win for him. And then you got the return of Rose, and he goes off with the human version of the Doctor, and I don't know about that one. I don't know how we're supposed to feel. Is that a happy ending or not? I mean, she's got a Doctor, but I don't know. But yeah, I've already mentioned Donna's departure, and yeah, that is a that is a heartbreaker, because Donna she had grown and so much over the course of the series. I absolutely loved her relationship with the Doctor. It was exactly what the show needed, after all the lovesick puppy eyes that had been going on in the previous two series. You know, just the Doctor and a mate hanging out, having fun. You know, that was something that the whole show just needed. And then, because of the events of the Meta Crisis, and the Doctor has to take her memories away, so she can't remember any of it. Yeah, that's just heartbreaking. Just really a really sad thing to see for this this character who had grown, who had learned so much. And okay, now we know that's all been undone, but at the time, yeah, it was tragic. I disliked Donna at first, but over her story arc, she convinced me she was a good character. Yeah, as I said earlier, Scott, when I first watched these episodes, I wasn't a fan of Donna, but when I went back and watched it over again, she's actually a really brilliant character, and Catherine Tate's superb. Right, now let's get to the specials. The next Doctor. Yeah, so next Doctor, I'm putting this in great, because obviously it's Cybermen, so that obviously gets it brownie points. But also just because I think David Morrissey is just the real star of this show. His story is Jackson Lake. It's just so tragic, and I'm just, I don't know how to describe it. It's the beautiful interactions between Jackson Lake and David Tennant that just really sell the story, as they're just slowly piecing this little puzzle box together. And I just think that just works really well. And I also really like the ending where he actually convinces the Doctor to have Christmas dinner with him. You know, even Donna couldn't do that. But, yeah, I mean, this first special starts off really well. Okay, there's some janky bits to it, like the weird steampunk cyber king. But Miss Hartigan, she's quite a good villain, and I can completely understand her perspective in the story. But yeah, next Doctor. Yeah, it's a great one. Planet of the Dead, though, sucks. Don't like it at all. I don't like Lady Christina. It seems amazing to me now that there was this idea that Michelle Ryan was going to become this international superstar. And then we got to put up with Lee Evans. Okay, I know there are people who love Lee Evans, but so I guess your enjoyment of this episode might depend on how much you like Lee Evans. For me, it's very much to the detriment. And yeah, nothing else to say about it. It's just not very good. I don't know why the Doctor even helps her get away at the end. Doesn't make sense to me. Wars on Mars. Again, I know some people would put this up in Fantastic. I don't think it's quite that good. So I would just leave it in Great. This is more character piece where we get to see the Time Lord victorious. You know, where he's. I mean, they're always very loose with the rules of time, what they can and can't change. But you know, this is the time when the Doctor decided he was the master of time, and he could change a fixed point, even though the he knew the repercussions. We'd seen what repercussions could be. If you go back to Father's Day, Rose changed a fixed point in her personal history. You know, and yeah, nearly destroyed everything. But the Doctor decided he knew better, so he was going to change history, and we get the darkest ending to a Doctor Who episode ever, where was it Adelaide Brooke? Was that her name? Yeah, she kills herself in this supposed children's show. We have a character committing suicide. But we go back to Mars. Obviously, we got the creepy water, the flood. Not much to them really, and that's why I can only put it as great. Ancient Northern Martian. I want a wonderful story about self-determination and the exertion of one's will. Yeah, I don't know. I'll think about it. Yeah, you know what? Actually, I will bump it up just to Fantastic. I think it probably does deserve that. But now we come to our final curtain. The End of Time, parts 1 and 2. Where am I going to put this? Yeah, I put it in great. Bernard Cribbins is obviously he's brilliant. This is probably the episode most people remember him for, with his conversations with the Doctor, the 4 knocks at the end. We get the return of the Master, and he's just as unhinged as ever. I'm not entirely sure why Wilf doesn't turn into a copy of the Master, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's because he's been in the TARDIS. Maybe that's why both him and Donna. Maybe that's why they don't change. But they don't really explain that. The bit with Gallifrey returning, it almost feels a bit tacked on, that, to be honest. Like it only feels like a very small part of the story, when it really should feel like the centerpiece. It's more about the Doctor and the Master. But what this story is really about is David Tennant's farewell, and yeah, it was a sad. He went. Razalon's Nintendo Power Glove. Yeah, he was definitely playing with power. It's so bad. But yeah, David Tennant, his farewell tour. We see Mickey and Martha are married now for some reason, even though Martha was already engaged to someone else before. You know, just something that happened entirely off screen, so we don't know. So we don't know why or how that happened. Donna becomes a millionaire. Yeah, yeah. Mickey and Martha being married is horrid. I don't want to say it's horrid because you know we do need to make a distinction between Mickey Smith and Noel Clarke on this, but yeah, it was just out of nowhere because the last time we'd seen Martha on screen, she was engaged to it was another doctor guy, but I can't remember. And then just suddenly out of nowhere, Mickey and Martha are married. Well, how did that happen? Eccleston is my fave of the new Doctors. Tennant was a close second. I like Matt Smith, but I didn't see his whole tenure. Yeah, I think Eccleston is really good, but Tom Milligan, that was his name. Yeah, so yeah, Eccleston, yeah, I think he was really good, but his tenure was short. Tennant was brilliant in the role. I think Matt Smith, yeah, I think Matt Smith is one of the best examples of an actor just elevating his material, because a lot of the scripts he was given, particularly in like season 6, they weren't very good, but he made them watchable. But yeah, I think that basically wraps up our tier ranking. So in the most, yeah, it's RTD1 was a pretty good era. I think most of the episodes are good to great. Got some fantastic episodes. A few duds, but yeah, overall, RTD1 was it was a great era. He brought it back strong. Gotta give it to Russell T Davies on that one. So yeah, that would just about wrap us up, I think. Hopefully at some point in the future I'll be back and I'll look at the whole Stephen Moffat era. Which would be quite a lot, actually. I might break up into Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi eras. Yeah, I am planning on doing more Doctor Who tier lists. Like I say, I'm gonna tackle the Moffat era next. I'm just questioning whether I should split that up into Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi, because it's a lot of episodes. And then eventually I'll get around to Chibnall and RTD2. But yeah, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed it. British Sci-Fi TV tier list as part of MBVA. Yeah. I probably will split it into Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi. Yes, so Scott, for the British Sci-Fi TV tier list, yeah, there's still a lot of British sci-fi shows I need to watch first before I can definitively rank them. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to like and subscribe and all the usual YouTube stuff. And I'll see you all next time.